Good morning. This is Dylan Jovine with Behind the Markets. Happy Friday. Today is Friday, July 25th, and it is the last Friday of July. Here we go. Next week at this time, it'll be August 1st. And anyway, today I wanted to talk to you about the housing market. There's a lot of reporting this week that came out that said the housing market is now more overvalued, the U.S. housing market, than any time in history, which is really interesting. We talked about this, and it really stinks for young people who are really priced out of homes. It really hurts. We own homes. We have our homes already. We bought them years ago. We're settled, married, kids, whatever it is, or divorced, whatever it is. Buying the big home was the purchase you made younger, and you've ridden that thing out for a while. But there's a lot of people out there who haven't bought their first home, or who have been trapped in this rent cycle and want to jump back into the housing market, and they are completely boxed out of the housing market. The report came out this week that real estate sales have dropped, but housing prices have hit an all-time high and are now more overvalued than at any time in American history. And we traced this back. We did a report on this last year, and we really illustrated some of the root causes of that, even more so than the COVID pandemic. Basically, it was really letting Wall Street get into the business of buying homes and renting them out, basically opening up homes as an asset class. And we've been big fans of not allowing that to happen, really to get Wall Street out of the buying up neighborhoods and renting them out business. But I have some interesting statistics here, and I just wanted to go over it. Home prices alone have doubled in the past 10 years. In 2014, the average home in America cost $200,000. Now, the average home costs over $400,000. Now, never in the history of this country have homes been this expensive. You don't need me to tell you this, just look around, it's crazy. They've doubled in the past 10 years. The problem is the average income has not doubled in the past 10 years. 10 years ago, in 2014, the average person made $65,740 a year. Now, the average income in America is $74,580. Incomes have increased only 13.8% in the past 10 years, but home prices increased 100% in the past 10 years. And look, at the end of the day, no matter what, home prices will approximate incomes, because remember, no matter what you want to say, no matter what fancy math or logic one wants to use, at the end of the day, 90% of loans are underwritten by banks or mortgage companies. And when you sit down with a bank or mortgage company and they're looking at your application, they are going to determine what kind of mortgage to give you based on your income, period. So no matter what, homes should approximate incomes. That's why we use the price to income ratio when it comes to analyzing homes. It's very much like a price to earnings ratio that we use when we're looking at stocks. The PE ratio tells you the price of a stock in relation to how much it earned in the prior year. And with homes, we use the price to income ratio, which basically tells you the average price of a home in relation to the average income. Now, in the normal healthy housing market for the last 50, 75 years, the average PI ratio was 3.4, meaning that if the average income in America is $74,000 a year, that the average home should sell for about $262,000, or 3.4 times the average income. But right now, the average home in America has a PI ratio of 5.8. This is the highest ratio ever recorded in American history. And just to put this into some context, at the peak of the housing boom in 2006, the PI ratio, the price to income ratio, hit a then record of 4.7. So right after that, the market crashed 60% from its highs. And of course, you remember what happened when the stock market crashed, the real estate market crashed, the stock market crashed too. But today's PI ratio is about 25% higher than the PI ratio of 4.7 that we saw at the peak of the housing boom. So again, we're talking about a split screen scenario where you have the president really juicing up investment, et cetera, et cetera. But the law of numbers and euphoria, people are very optimistic. I'm optimistic. I think AI is absolutely revolutionary and all this other stuff. There's no doubt about it. But at the end of the day, the housing market, a couple of things have to happen for the housing market to correct itself. You either need to bring prices down, which would happen in a slowing economy, or there's a few ways, three ways really, to fix the housing market. Number one, it just drags along here for 10 or 15 years until incomes catch up. That seems to be the path we're going, meaning an entire generation of people won't be able to afford to buy homes. The second way is there's a crack, interest rates go higher, maybe the president fires Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell, and all of a sudden there's a spike in the long side of the curve. Even if he fires Powell or Powell resigns under pressure, no matter what, even a new Fed chairman might lower rates under pressure from the president. But as we've talked about before, the long end of the curve doesn't really change. The short end of the curve might change, definitely will change. But the long end of the curve, where sophisticated investors are making decisions with their money, they're going to say, this is a Fed chairman we don't trust, so we're just going to keep rates higher at the long end, which is why they've gone higher every time he's threatened to fire Powell and why he keeps backing off of the electric fence. And the other way, finally, that this can get fixed, basically, is by adding supply to the market. And one of the things the president talked about when he was running for office is really coming out with a housing bill that really opens up building for builders. If you add a lot of supply to the market, that'll take care of prices for people anyway. So we are at this interesting place in American history. Now, in the long term, in the very, very long term, when you look at your assets, okay, in the very, very long term, thinking about the health of our country from a fiscal point of view, I'm going to put you to sleep now. When you look at your biggest assets, most people, their biggest assets is their house, period. So we have a whole generation, we have 20 years of people who are not going to be able to buy a house. So when they come to retirement age, they're not going to have this otherwise biggest asset. This is a problem. This is going to be a very big problem. But that is a tomorrow problem. The today problem is this crazy, super high priced housing market. Anyway, that's all I have for you today. Have a wonderful weekend. I'll see you Monday.